Hello, I'm Dart Everett. I'm a landlord in Brattleboro and have been since 1981. I currently have 42 apartment units which are rented in Brattleboro and Putney.
I'm Ben Jerome Lee. I'm a 17-year-old high school student at Brattleboro Union High School, and very soon I will be looking to rent an apartment for myself. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me, Dart.
It's my pleasure.
So going into renting an apartment, what should I be expecting?
First of all, a landlord is going to want to know how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to pay your rent. Since you will be going into college, there's a good chance that your parents will be willing to co-sign the lease and guarantee the rent payments. If not, we're going to want to know where your money is coming from to pay your mortgage. To pay your rent. A landlord typically wouldn't expect you to spend more than 35% of your income on your rent and electric.
Okay. I've heard talk about a credit history report. Mm-hmm. Does that require having a credit card?
It doesn't require having a credit card, but if you have any kind of loans or mortgages or credit cards, they're reported by the various companies to credit bureaus on a monthly basis. And they tell, the report is whether you have been fallen behind in your payments, how many months you've been behind, whether you've really defaulted on a credit card or another bill. And the landlord will ask for a credit history report. It'll probably cost you $16 because that's what it'll cost the landlord. Although some landlords are willing to accept a report that you bring in because federal law requires each one of the three reporting agencies to provide you with a credit report each year if you ask for it. And you can go online and download that report. And I think most landlords would probably accept one if it were dated pretty soon before your interview.
Okay. What if I personally haven't made a lot of payments on anything like car insurance or things like that? How else could I prove to you that I was worthy of leasing this apartment to?
Pay stubs, that you have a job, and good personal references.
Okay. Who could I give to you for a personal reference? Could it be my dad, or would it be better if it was a teacher or a sports coach or a previous boss that I had worked with?
Yes.
Okay.
All three would be terrific,
all right.
Four. Your father might want to get you out of the house, so I'm not sure that would be the best reference, but teachers and coaches and somebody else you've worked for would be very good.
Okay. What should I expect to pay for besides the actual unit itself, such as heating, water, electricity?
I think most apartments typically include heat and water and hot water.
Okay.
You would pay for electric.
Okay.
Now there are apartments that you would have to pay for your own heat, probably not water, but your own heat, your own hot water, your own electricity, but your total cost is probably going to be the same.
Okay.
If I pay for the heat, the rent's going to be higher. If you pay for the heat, the rent's going to be lower, probably to somewhere close to the same degree that I expect that apartment to cost me.
Okay. What if I have a buddy and we want to split the rent? Would you accept that? How would that work?
Sure. But you would each be responsible for 100% of the rent. You would each sign a separate lease that would detail what your responsibilities are. These are standard leases. It's like any loan document you sign. Mm-hmm. And it spells out what your responsibilities are, what a landlord's responsibilities are. But each one of you is responsible for 100% of the rent. So if your buddy's your buddy, please make sure he's not going to bug out on you because it's going to stick you with the whole rent.
Okay. What if one night my buddy and a couple friends come over and they bring a case of beer, and I personally don't get intoxicated, but they do, and they become rowdy and they disturb the units on either side? What's your policy on incidents like that?
Well, you're 17 years old,
yeah.
So you shouldn't be drinking. Mm-hmm. But that's not my job. I'm not your parent, and I'm not a cop. Mm-hmm. If your buddies come over and get drunk and start bothering nearby tenants, and I hear about it, I'm going to call the cops, or the other tenants in the building are probably going to call the cops.
Okay.
But it's also going to reflect on you. If it happens very often, you'd probably be asked to leave.
Okay. For people who this would apply to, What is your policy on tobacco and alcohol?
Most of our apartments, we do not allow smoking in the apartment. Some tenants smoke on a porch or go out into their car, and I always hope that they keep their windows up so that they suffer with their own smoke. Alcohol is, just so long as the person drinking is responsible, it's not an issue.
Okay.
Drugs are an issue. Drugs are illegal, and we don't allow drug use or certainly drug selling in apartments. If we found out, we would immediately evict the person.
Okay. Eviction. What would some other incidents be that would cause you to evict someone or give them notice of being evicted?
Well, the main thing is non-payment of rent. Rent is due on the 1st. Most landlords give 5 or 10 days grace period. Some people think that that's an automatic right, but it isn't. Rent is due on the 1st. After 5 days, they can be issued an eviction notice. After 15 days, they certainly will be issued an eviction notice. And then they have 30 days to make good on that, on what is due. But by that time, they're into the next month. Mm-hmm. So they better catch up pretty quick.
Okay.
If it happens that they don't catch up, then an eviction process goes through. It can take several months to get rid of somebody, but it does go on their credit history, mm-hmm. and they'll have difficulty getting an apartment in the future.
Okay. What if there were circumstances where I was sick or I had been laid off from my job? Would you possibly make exceptions?
Number one rule is, if you're going to be late with your rent, call your landlord.
Okay.
Explain why. The first time is going to be pretty easy because a landlord understands. We're all human. Mm-hmm. We understand why people are late sometimes. The second, third, fourth time becomes a little tougher. Mm-hmm. I've got a tenant right now who's behind 3 months, but he's called me. He's told me how he intends to make it up and what he's doing to make it up and how he'll be repaying me. So that's very important, very important.
Okay. What's your policy on pets?
We allow pets in some apartments. Cats are a little easier than dogs. We charge extra security deposit, and in some cases we charge an extra monthly amount for the animal. Dogs, depends on the size of the dog, the type of the dog. Some are absolutely verboten. The insurance companies have a list of dogs that if they know that it's in a dog, Rottweiler is in an apartment, mm-hmm. they'll cancel my insurance. So they have a list of dogs that the insurance company considers a real liability, and I have that list, and we would not rent to somebody that had one of those dogs.
Okay.
We certainly don't want a big dog on the 3rd floor. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have some 1st floor apartments that have their own private backyards. They're ideal for pets. So it's a case-by-case situation depending on what the animal is, how responsible we think the tenant is, and where the apartment is.
Okay. Say my pet, such as my dog or myself, breaks something in my apartment, such as a chair or a table or a mirror. Am I responsible for that?
Well, we don't have any furnished apartments, so you can either sit on the floor or have your chair fixed. But if the dog were to go after a bird at a window and break the window, you would be responsible for the cost of that repair.
Okay.
We'd like you to tell us, and we'll have it taken care of and charge you what it costs us. We wouldn't be terribly upset if you removed the window and took it to a glass place in Brown and Roberts or somewhere and had it fixed. That's fine.
Okay.
But you are responsible for damage that you cause.
Okay.
And we want to know right away. A broken window is a loss of heat. A running toilet can be very expensive. I'd rather have you tell me tomorrow so that I can call a plumber and spend $100 fixing a toilet than wait 3 months and get a bill for $300 from the water company. Mm-hmm. Because water bills can amount very, very rapidly.
Okay. What if someone breaks into my apartment and damages a window or a duct pipe and even some of my furniture? What's your insurance policy?
I'm responsible for repairing the door, repairing the lock, repairing the window. you're responsible for your own personal property.
Okay.
Tenants should carry tenant insurance. It runs somewhere between $100 and $200 a year, and it covers your belongings in case they get stolen.
Okay. What if I had made a stupid decision a couple years back and had something on my criminal record? Would that automatically make you refuse me as a tenant, or is it a case-by-case basis?
We do check criminal records. It's certainly a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
The best thing for you to do when you come in and talk to a landlord is say, here's what I did. It was stupid. I'll never do it again. And if the landlord thinks you're being sincere, they're probably just going to say, hey, not a problem. If you've got a long history of it, that's a different issue. But your references are important to back up what you're saying.
Okay. So again, it's better to talk to you about it than just hoping it goes unnoticed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will want references.
Okay.
If you don't have much of a credit history, your references are even more important. Typically, the last landlord is a very important reference. And the last question we always ask is, would you rent to this person again? And whether they say yes or no, it depends how long a time it takes them to say yes as to whether we believe them. Sometimes landlords will want to get rid of a tenant, and they won't tell the truth. So it's the response time as well as whether they say yes, they would rent to somebody again.
Okay.
Other references are very important. I mean, if you've had past employment, if you've had a sports coach that can vouch for you and say what a good person they think you are, a teacher, a minister, you know, they're very important. A neighbor.
Okay.
References go a long way.
Okay. Just a final question. What would your ideal tenant be like?
Pay the rent on time, leave the house at 8 o'clock in the morning quietly, and come back at 6 o'clock in the evening quietly, keep their television turned low, put their trash out when they're supposed to, never break a window, and never call me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.